Hello, and welcome to what hopefully is going to be a regular occurrence. This is the Timelines Tuesdays. At some point going to be a Timelines Wednesday, because we realise that actually all the stuff we talk about will be happening tomorrow. But joining me today on the stream, we've got a couple of special guests. As you can tell by the text above me and over there that I forgot to make invisible, I shall be introducing, and let's see if I can make this as seamless as possible. I bet I can't, because I can't find them on the source list. First off, returning... Oh no, hang on, where's he got? There he is. Returning from the depths of whatever mountain he decided to go and meditate on.
I'm still here.
Yes, I know. He's muted. There we go. Now, what's the purpose of a sound check if everyone's muted?
That's what you check for. You check to make sure there's no sound.
Can you hear me now? Am I here? Am I live? Can you guys hear me? How about now?
There we go.
Hey, there we go.
Hello?
Hello? Hey,
Yes,
we knew
yes,
we knew
yes.
there was going to be problems. Right, we're up, we're here.
5 sound checks, and this is what we produce. Good work, everyone.
This is the level of qualities that we
2
have
days of
prepared
preparation.
for. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so I have convened you all together here. Well, again, this is a historic thing because I think Auto many moons ago you wanted to do something similar to this in the past for the Big Book and sort of have an avenue, a forum of discussion to. Sounds like slow dive. Oh, hang on, what have I messed up here? Problem is I can't monitor myself that well. How's it sound on your end, guys?
You sound like
fine for me.
You sound fine?
You'll have to stream, though.
Okay, well, we'll leave it for now. I think I'm fine. Okay, anyway, so yes, this was sort of an avenue that you, Auto, wanted to bring in to talk about crew sort of week-by-week basis as we do them. So, first off, for tonight, we want to have a chat about the previous event. So the Gabriella Burnham, sort of very lackluster faction event that everyone just sort of looked at and went, no. And I want to give a small shout out to this week to DC Pilot, who was a Timelines Discord member who got to the number 2 position. And I have here something he's allowed me to share with you. Is it this one? There we go. This one with you. So this was his personalised notes that he made through the event of who was going to fit on each shuttle. So I thought that was quite an interesting way of sort of seeing who at that end of the the top end of the spectrum, the amount of planning they do involves a piece of margin paper and some hastily scrawled notes. But yeah, I shared that with you guys on the Timelines Discord. But hey, there it is. First off, I think, where were we? So we were talking about the previous event, and I'd like to sort of have your guys' input on what we think about what happened. Also, sort of how laid back it was, but also what you guys think about Miss Burnham herself.
Okay, well, I just got back, so you guys will have the floor in a second, but I wanted to talk about that. Those notes actually put me in mind of someone asking for advice in the Ready Room, I don't know, about a year ago or whatever, and they had their citations planned out. They had like 6 pages of handwritten notes, and I don't know, there's something charming. I wasn't a big pen and paper guy back in the day, but puts you in mind of D&D and all the role-playing games, and I think it's great when people put that out there for others to enjoy and riff off, and because I know you're a spreadsheet guy, Idle. And so there's a
I
slight
think you'll find
difference
that's
between
the
the two.
spreadsheet guy. The spreadsheet.
All right, but I just wanted to shout out to him for planning, and obviously it paid off with number 2 finish, I think. So congratulations to DC.
It was definitely exciting seeing it happen at the sort of the very end, sort of tracking the leaderboards and sort of hearing, and sort of seeing him crawl up from number 4 to number 3, and then he's I saw him chatting, right, final shuttles are going out, and he just crept up to number 2, and he saw number 3, and it's silly, he's sort of sitting there watching numbers going by, and you're thinking, this is exciting, but it kind of was at the time, it's a bit, kind of more that we were rooting for DC Pilot to actually, get that number 1, get the number 2 finish. I think he was a way off number 1, who was definitely opening the wallet for getting that victory. But yeah, it was definitely exciting to watch sort of on alive those final few minutes, and I think I did get a screenshot, but I can't share it here, it's on my iPad.
Before we go ahead, the stream chat says there's a lot of echo for me, and I have headphones, so there's no audio coming out of my PC. Is that on your end, maybe?
I think I've sorted it now. I had the wrong interface. Just have a chat. Chat, is it all right? Okay now? Yes, Scyther's very good. Can I just ask the chat? It's fixed now, yeah. I think I had the wrong things going on. It's fine. 6 minutes in, we've sorted it. Teething problem. First week. It's first week. Come on.
Hey, we're still in dry dock, okay? Give us...
It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It won't be fixed till Tuesday.
The proper audio levels don't arrive until Tuesday.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, no, speaking from personal experience, the best I've ever ranked in an event, I think, was 50th, and it was for Age of Sail Worf, just because I think he was one of the only Worfs that's been actually available in an event for, a year or two. And even though it was only 15, and even though it was, as you say, just numbers going up and down, still tense. Still tense watching, when it's like case of you've invested so many resources and time and, a little bit of heart into it as well. So it's very exciting to see it actually pay off.
It was very interesting. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm done.
No, it was interesting sort of talking to DC as he was doing it, and sort of like a few little tactics and things he was doing. Like he was saving a lot of sort of fail shuttles or failed, shuttles that he sent off with no hope of them returning. I think he had something, as many as -4 returning, and they literally left it to the last 2 minutes, cashed them all back, and sort of, talking about how he managed tokens and sort of some of the other. It's not as simple as straight as, send your shuttles, hope for the best. There is a little bit of time management, there's a little bit of token management in it too, and that was very interesting reading sort of what he was doing and how he was doing it to sort of gauge sort of how you can improve your own performance and sort of think, and definitely when because I say, like yourself, like the last shuttle event I did, I got 18th, and that took tips. I definitely did about, only using 2x boosts and overnight shuttles on tokens, because then you save your tokens and you get the same result out. So there's a little bit of give and sway, sort of paying attention to what people are doing. It's not just blind run, hope for the best, and I suck or my crew suck. Well, there is a little bit of that, but there's also a little bit of push. But I know there is a section of the community that are like, requisition shuttles are in. It was better before, which is true to an extent, because people that pay for a premium campaign can definitely get a little bit of an edge on free to play, because they have more shuttles at their availability.
Yeah, but I suppose if you go from that perspective, it's a case of that was always going to be the case. Like free to play has always been disadvantaged against pay to win or pay to do better, as it was. It's a case of, like the premium campaigns and the requisition shuttles only just kind of made it more direct. It's like beforehand, it's a case of if you were paid to win, well, I'm just going to dilithium it. It's, I don't really see how requisition shuttles really changed it that much. They just kind of codified it in my view, but.
Yeah, it certainly did reek of pay to win when they first came out, but then the Tactical Officer Neelix event, I had to leave halfway through, and so I really wanted him. The stats were great. I thought, well, how can I get him in a half event of playing? So I threw 100 shuttles, requisition shuttles at it. I ended up overshooting, but I got him. So in that sense, how many people are really going for a number 1 or even a top 5 finish? If you're not, it does offer you a little bit of flexibility as to, you can throw, it's just another layer of resources you can throw at it to try to pick up the characters that you want.
And especially because they aren't directly purchasable most of the time, it kind of limits just the escalation of it. It's not like, buying the boosts directly. It's a case of there's a certain level of tokens that you can have and how you manage them. And if you want to put your investment in one, you lose out on another one down the line. It's a bit more strategic in that sense.
Well, you can purchase them for escalating deal prices, but the people who do that are
They're crazy.
already doing it anyway.
They were already going to
Yeah,
invest the
yeah.
deal anyway, so it's a case of if you go down that route, it's a lost cause anyway. So
Yeah.
I think
for the majority of players, I feel like the tokens are a nice little addition that, as you say, offers a bit more flexibility and makes things a bit more manageable. If maybe you aren't just sitting there, sitting time, and so you wake up in the middle of the night to refresh your shelf. If you do that, power to you. I hope you get good. But in terms of, my ranking sucked this thing. My ranking sucked this event because Ms. Burnham is not good.
No. I think that sort of leads nicely on to next topic. Let's have a chat about herself.
I was excited for this card, just because I actually quite enjoyed a lot of Season 2 of Discovery, and I enjoyed her character, and I thought, you know what, this is a candidate for a good card. No, really wasn't.
No,
really wasn't a good card. Like a 2-skiller by itself is like you're already shot in the leg, but the fact of the matter is, an end size 2-skiller, that's the worst possible combination in my view. That's the most.
Really.
It's like if I'm looking at a 2-skiller, don't make me think Dr. Soon. You know, don't make me think, oh well, I can get a Dr. Soon with slightly better stats. Like anyone can do that. It's a case of you need to make them unique, and there is nothing unique about.
That is a burn. That's a
What,
burn.
what did Soon ever do to you, man?
Exist. Actually, no, that's not true. He exists just to make other Behold choices look more appealing. That's what he does.
Actually, she probably comps with scaled power creep to Tilly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people have had Tilly now for going on 2.5 years.
Around about that, yeah.
Of course, we don't, hindsight is 2020. If you're going to give me another 16 Discovery events, then suddenly Burnham looks a little better. But if you're not, then
Garbage.
so she does comp pretty similarly, and you might have a rosier view of her because of how many times you've used Tilly, but who knows? I mean, we're getting into Picard now, and if they do Disco and Picard Megas, we're gonna have room for nothing else.
Well,
that's the thing is, with sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you first.
With how this last Mega played out, which I think actually ties into another point, which is that like part of the reason why I think the competition was so low at this event was because we just came off a Mega. Like, it's always a case of competition during a Mega is way more heightened because you want the next queue so you can do the next bit in the event, and it's a self-fulfilling thing. First one after a Mega is finished is always a little bit lame. No one's really interested. No one's got the resources. And unless the crew is particularly good, you're not going to go that extra mile. But tying into that, we just had a pseudo-Discovery Mega, pseudo-Picard Mega with a completely unrelated trait. So until we get perhaps a Season 3 Discovery Mega, which returns to the old Disco bonus crew pool,
Cool.
I don't think we're getting that anymore. Maybe for Picard. Picard possibly, because that's a very small pool at the moment. It'll probably only grow bigger. But for Discovery, I think that ship has sailed, personally. Don't hold me to that, and don't,
I think this is it. I think if we look at sort of Gabrielle in terms of the character, and the chances are she might turn up in Season 3, so there might be at least, another event count. But for the people looking at the stream, she's got an event count of 26, and that's because she's got the Disco tag. Now, again, like you say, if we get a Disco Mega again with that huge bonus pool, are they going to do that, or are they going to do like the TOS Bridge, the original series Bridge Crew Mega, which we had recently with Labor Kirk and Seeking Spock? That was a much more limited pool, and it kind of is a little bit fairer for newer players but having a Disco event with, however, I don't even know how many Disco cards. I should know this, how many Disco cards we have, but yeah.
Something like that.
So you can absolutely think they're going to do that.
70 or something like that, the past one, but
Yeah,
like you say, she has a good chance of appearing in Season 3 with another variant down the line, but that's the thing, the event counts can be somewhat deceptive, because you look at it and think, oh, well, it's 26, but it's not 26 events that you're actually using that character for. It just gives you an event of what their history would have looked like, not what it could look like.
Yeah. a sort of a gauge of kind of a percentage. How useful would this person be? If it's plus 20, then you've got a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you look at like a Spock that has an event count of like 16 or whatever, I feel safer betting on that than looking at generic disco crew like Tyler Son of None or Gabriel Burnham and being like, oh well, they've got an event count of 26, they're a sure bet. It doesn't quite eke out like that. I'd take a bet on a Spock or a Tilly or a Burnham any day over a Gabrielle Burnham or something else like that.
I mean, Spock is a bit insane. He covers so many franchises now; it's ridiculous. So
it's true. It's true.
Always bet on Spock.
Okay, I think we've waxed enough about a filler 2-skiller. So.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Very nice. All right, let me lose her. Bye, Mama Burnham.
Hopefully, we'll see you again with a better card.
Yes. So let's move on. Let's talk about next week's event. So next week's event. We have got Bridal Keiko, which should be an interesting one to see what stats she's got. Delta Flyer Kim, finally, and we will have a Tuskegee Mayweather. What I'd like to just very quickly, and I can't imagine this will be a very long part of the conversation, but what do we know about Tuskegee?
You'd be so wrong.
What do we know about Tuskegee? I mean, but... How effective? Let's say you're a squadron leader. You've got a very limited pool. You've got this crew, but you're like, oh Christ, the only person I've got is Tuskegee Mayweather that's fully fused. Is he going to be someone that you want to put in there, or is this going to be a bit of a wet blanket? And excuse me because I'm going to open a beer, so there'll be a noise. There we go.
Well, we need alcohol if we're going to talk about Tuskegee Mayweather. I don't know, like Tuskegee Mayweather is a decent card on his own merits just because he does count for at least Timelines Originals. He's not got terrible stats. I think he's Eng Command, which is like uncommon but like a useful combination. Like there were a good few Eng Command shuttles in the last event because we had Vice Admiral Janeway as the featured crew, obviously. He's not bad crew. On the surface level, he's terrible just because his art is really bad. But
it's reused.
But he's fine. It's just a case of he's attached to a name that no one gives a shit about. Pardon my French. Like it's Travis Mayweather. Like his best card was in a Tuesday pack, and I don't see that changing for the better.
Well, crew
share, I think.
Crew like him are fairly binary. Not the Binars, although they're also bad. But he and a name I saw earlier today is Sulu of the Body, who, they're freezer crew. They have good enough bases, especially Tuskegee 3x bonus. You're going to use them no matter what. But these guys, 2-skillers, if they don't have arena, if they don't have gauntlet, they're dependent solely on their event count, and these guys are not household names. So if you have a chance to pick them up 4 copies during an event and freeze it, go ahead, because there will be chances like for the Sulu where you pull him out. He has with bonuses, almost 1,000 base? I think it's 900 something.
Something like that.
Diplomacy is a common seat, so these guys definitely have their uses. It's just when someone says
has the collection edition as well, which is always nice to snag when you can.
Yeah. So if someone says they suck, I mean, depends on how you define it. When they get a chance, they're fine. It's just they never get a chance.
Yeah, they're not daily use crew, but depending on where you are in the game, that definition changes wildly. Like for someone who is in the early game, I'm sure he probably held down quite a few nodes, got you some unlock rewards, or whatever. As you get later on, he is in cryo for almost 90% of his life.
As he should be.
And he should. As Travis, I lived in space, Mayweather should be.
Yeah.
The other 2 crew are a lot more interesting. I'm excited for a good Kim variant. I think there are not enough of them.
And by enough, you mean any.
Well, Captain Harry Kim is...
Captain is fine.
Captain Harry Kim, who is the current offer at the moment, is actually fine.
Yeah,
if you haven't gotten any of the other Command Eng crew, he's a fine crew, and Buster Kincaid is fine if you don't have many other options. The less said about Teresian Kim, the better. But I don't know. Like I feel like he's probably gonna be like a Eng set command if I had to guess. I don't know We haven't got the stats out yet, obviously, because it's Tuesday, not Wednesday.
Yeah.
But I imagine it will probably be pretty decent crew. Decent.
I'm actually more excited for the bridge crew photo you get with Taurus, Paris, and Irina. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously,
There
yeah.
you go. They've got the set there, haven't you? Oh,
Yeah.
and I know Ambassador Zal was part of that episode
Oh,
as well, wasn't he?
Zal.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to cut one of those 5, make it Zal.
Yeah.
Go racers, go! All right, thank you, Zal. Off you go.
Yeah, no, that was that guy's easiest paycheck ever.
Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning,
I would-
put these prosthetics on, and
Yeah.
Actually, there's been discussion from time to time about a vanity collection for that episode, and with 5 crew, that's almost viable. I'm not sure who else.
I think
One
it's
of the other
definitely
alien racers, I guess you'd add.
it's definitely a subset. I mean, I've done it on my data core sheet, but there's definitely a subsection for episode crew. 'Cause there's so many, like the Killing Game and End Game from Voyager as well. Obviously not the Marvel one, but the Voyager one. There's so many crew from the episode. They're pretty much all there, especially the Enterprise Mirror Universe episode. We've pretty much got them all apart from I think Maxwell. That's about it. But yeah, there's definitely there's merit for that. I'd be up for that definitely.
Yeah, even if it was just like chronotons and merits and like a bit of credits, I'd still happily do it just because collections are fun. Collections are a fun little thing that, with a few exceptions, aren't all that game changing, but they're just a fun thing to add, and they give a bit more flavor to it. And it's a case of they add value to cast otherwise wouldn't have them. Like if you think about half the crew that were in Holodeck Enthusiasts, for example, you would not even look at them twice.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
So you're not worried about this inflating the value of Mirror Archer to catastrophic levels?
I don't think Mirror Archer has a value to inflate. I think that, what was that? The Longest Day, I think that was a faction event for Archer features. I don't think I even unfroze him. He's truly terrible.
Yeah. Whilst we're on the subject, I think you're probably leading there as well. Whilst we're on the subject, slight diversion. How do we feel about the stat bonuses from the new Diplomat and Vulcan collections, and how you think they will affect people's site decisions in the future? I'd say slight diversion. This is probably quite a large diversion, but
Well, I mean,
everything we do is a large diversion. Yeah, for anyone unaware, the 3 of us have worked on the Big Book crew advice resource in varying capacities for, I think I started it a year and a half ago, almost 2 years.
Wow.
And so anything that happens in this game, we discuss to death in our little Discord channel. So anything that someone brings up, we will talk about for 45 minutes on this show before we move on. But yeah, as for the bonuses specifically, that's something that we talked about earlier today that we'll have to crunch some numbers on and decide, because at some point you can get all the best Voyagers, all the best base crew, but you hit a plateau, and the only way to improve would be to fill out those collection bonuses. So I think the value of those sort of depends. It's very roster specific. Diplomat specifically, I think it requires 25-ish golds immortalized to hit that last one. So I think for now, don't get your knickers in a... Can I use this phrase with 2 Brits on call? Don't get your knickers in a twist if you can't finish 60 crew, because that's quite a hefty threshold. So that's something that they'll flesh out.
There's a lot of bad crew in Diplomat. There's people like Saval and Lasan, and it's like, hey, if you had those crew immortalized somehow, then congratulations. But I'm not going to recommend anyone take Lasan over someone marginally better just because she's in Diplomat, especially if you're really far away from the next tier. Like, it depends on how close you are to her, but me personally, it's not going to affect my sighting that much, just because I haven't got very many people like a 3 out of 5s or Forest I could easily sight up, but it wouldn't do me a lot of good in the short run. In the long run, yes, but that's a long-term investment.
I think if we're going to assume that this is a pattern, they've done it now with 2 recently, if they're going to extend it to other collections, then you start looking at crew like Desert Giorgio, who has 3 stat boosting collections. And so you don't use her on voyages, but you're going to get plenty of event use out of her and taking 3 collection boxes when you need so many golds is it's worth considering.
Yeah, no, someone like her is a lot more viable just because, she's going to be in Discovery. She's got perfectly usable bases, and say 3 collections. That's a lot more to offer than someone like say Savol. What I'm most looking forward to is seeing this potentially expanded to other collections, which are also now in that thing of, oh look, you finished it now. There's no point. Like Innovator, Physician, Jury Rigger to a degree. Jury Rigger would be an annoying one to complete just because there are even worse crew in there.
Captains, if you can't finish Captain Scott, you're not getting that plus 1%.
I think that's a sacrifice I'm willing to not make. But I'm excited. I think it's a cool addition. It gives someone at the end game a lot more to do, as you say. But I think especially unless you are at that end game where you're like, oh, I immortalized this crew, I am now going 10 minutes further on voyages. You're not really going to see a massive difference for aiming for that 1 or 2% extra to your diplomacy proficiency. Unless maybe you're a gauntlet nut, in which case, more power to you.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just a note from the chat. Paul Craig says, obviously, Giorgio's getting her own show at some point. How do you think this will affect her own ratings for you? Are you see Giorgio in a Behold? Will that make you more inclined to get her because of her futures? Thank you, Paul Craig.
This is I had done a write-up several months ago about the most valuable variants, the characters overall, and Giorgio got a special mention because at that point there were still whispers of she might get her own show. She's already in Discovery, which at that point was a event juggernaut. So in my mind, she's been up there for some time as one of the most popular names: Burnham, Picard, Giorgio. Because television, especially if CBS is running the show, they have a contract with formerly DB, now TP. There's so many acronyms floating around, but you know what I mean. When there's money changing hands, the shows on air are going to get plenty of focus. So just I think out of necessity, you have to consider her if events are all your focus.
Yeah. In regards to her getting her own show, I have not heard a single thing about that show since they announced it. And it's like, I don't know if it's a case of maybe that got shelved because they saw that people were a lot more positive inclined toward a Pike show, which I personally am also. I would much rather see that than a Section 31 Giorgio show.
I think you and everyone else.
Yeah, unless you're a massive Michelle Yeoh fan, in which case I understand you. You are seen, you are valid. But I don't know, until I actually see maybe a set photo or a date for this alleged Giorgio show, I would be comfortable in saying it's over there somewhere.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing something that production was supposed to start in July, but obviously with what's been going on recently, I think that's been put on the sidelines until we know more what's going on. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of statement either saying production is continuing or she'll be on Discovery Season 4.
Yeah, I would honestly her event chances are solid anyway, just because Season 3 of Discovery, she is, if not a regular, then a recurrent.
I think she is regular. Character. I think that's been confirmed.
If she's a regular, then in which case, that's a solid bet. She's been a solid bet since since Discovery dropped. That's fine. If I saw her in a Behold, yes, I would take her over even maybe even significantly better crew just because of her event chances. Yeah. But in regards to specifically her show, I don't believe that that's happening until it's right in front of me. So, I don't think that specifically affects her chances.
So Kim and Mayweather are so intriguing that we just.
So, thank you for bringing us back on topic.
So we need a lot of reining in as the show goes on.
Yes. So, bringing us back to the main point, bringing us back to Mayweather, gut reaction, Bridal Keiko. What do we reckon? I mean, when we go to do this show on a Wednesday, that won't be a problem. But now we're here on a Tuesday, we're a little bit more hamstrung for it.
Now, was her last one the 4-star mirror version or the outrageous command base 5-star version?
I'm not sure.
I feel like Mirror Keiko came after. I feel like she did.
Okay, because if it's another number one
I'm
base,
doing
I don't think I
myself
can handle
still
that, man.
lemon peel look right now because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I have trouble looking at Bridal Keiko, who incidentally is from Data's Day, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mhm.
I have trouble looking at her and seeing anything other than maybe a Skiller. I could potentially see Sai because she's a botanist, and they do play into that a tiny bit in that episode because she's cutting plants when she's talking to Data and telling him, "Hey, I don't feel like telling my fiance I'm not interested in going ahead with the wedding anymore. You do it for me, Data." And it's like, okay, I'll do that because I'm Data and I'll.
Hey, now that's very high diplomacy. If you can convince Data to go back and forth and deliver all your messages, you know.
Yeah, Data needs a lot of convincing to do with people's busy work, right? Yeah, I could see like Dip Sai. If they wanted to really stretch it, maybe Med.
Yeah.
Like Med is so easy for them to justify. Like the moment
if you pour a drink or draw a picture, you have Med.
Yeah, like the moment Tor's quark dropped and he had like a sizable Med, it's like, okay, this stat doesn't actually mean anything other than what they want it to. So
hold on now, a Horgon carries a lot of power with it. And I'm a little disappointed none of us have a replica Horgon on the shelf behind them.
Yeah, no, it's clearly we all need to invest in our virility and get ourselves a Horgon.
Our very esteemed colleague, Plain Sybil Garrick, who is charading himself as especially the lies on chat, says, "Command because she controls O'Brien."
As a man with a wife in the other room behind him, who can probably hear me,
I think we've all done that. Hot take. We've got Barkley in the chat who says, "Can confirm Keiko has Dip and Sai."
Okay.
So there we go. So at least a 2-skiller of those combinations.
I'm going to say a name here, and I want you to express with your face what you think of this name, and that's roughly what I imagine Bridal Keiko. Are you ready?
Word association.
Yeah. Lokek Sato.
Oh, that's low.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing, because Keiko, she ain't an event monster, and what are her traits going to be? Civilian, romantic, botanist.
Well, yeah.
Maybe bitch, depending on your opinion of her character. I actually like Keiko, so I'm
Is this, no, hang on, this is TNG Keiko, not DS9 Keiko, so I think we might be alright there.
I mean, she was still, I don't know, there was that whole thing with capers. I don't know, I'm going off into tangents, but the moment you say to me, Dip Sai 2-skiller with a name like Keiko, I'm just like, I'm out.
Actually, tangentially, I appreciate when formerly DB does the announcements for the next campaign character. And they always try to make it sound so positive, like, he has the gardener trait. I'm like, okay.
A potentially unexpected trait. Criminal.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, so Bride may have its day, you know?
Speaking of campaigns, let's shift over slightly.
Yeah,
look at that perfect segue. You're a natural.
No, we were naturals.
So, coming up in a couple of days, we will have what everyone is getting confused with the Roshenkos. We will have the Bashirs coming up, because you will not believe how many messages I've had when these guys are awful. Why would you pay £10 for them? One go, well, actually, no. Are you not thinking of Worf's parents, not Bashir's parents? But yes, the Roshenkos, even I'm doing it. Look at that. The Bashirs are coming up for the next campaign premium pool, along with Amanda Grayson. Comments and ideas. So the Bashirs, I think I've said it before, but they are the very much perfect definition of middle of the road average card. They are right in the middle, right there, sort of great for people that don't have that skill set, but middling for those that do.
I think one of our esteemed colleagues, Big Large McHuge, I can't even get his name right. What am I doing here?
Big McLarge Huge.
There you go. He said
doesn't think much of himself, does he?
Directly and pretty favorably to Chef Riker, apart from event count and collection.
Yeah.
Which that's the main reason you take Riker, is because apart from I'm about to throw up coronavirus Odan Riker, that's your only real source of med and psi for that character. But Bashir is, as you say, perfectly average. I saw that announcement and I was like, that is the perfect crew I would never take, but will happily accept.
Yeah.
And I went and looked up some of the names underneath them, names that you might be using and you think are okay, but you don't think much of Bashir's. And names like Etana Joel, Vice Admiral Janeway, who just had her rerun, Borg Queen, who's a little older, but I bet most people are still using her at 5.5. Protomorphous Barclay, who was a previous campaign, and then almost all the command, diplomacy, security megas of the past. There's like 14 of them by now. Bashir's sit on top of all of them, and they also have a better skill set than most of them. So,
and
if you get them
traits as well, like you'd be able to use them on voyages and get that plus 25 antimatter for the people who really love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people subscribe to the strategy of using your event crew on shuttles and having a nice backup crew that won't sniff shuttles but will keep your voyages running during faction events. So, at least in that capacity, I think they're just fine. They're still in the top 100 voyagers, aren't they?
I think they are. Yeah, they debuted pretty low. It always messes me up when I say pretty low. I
think in the 50s.
Yeah, they were a very solid crew when they came out, and obviously as time goes on, we've had the upper ranks stuffed with trash, to be quite frank. Acting Captain Jellicoe, I'm looking at you. But they're perfectly fine.
Get it done. Hey, he got Troy into uniform. That's all that matters.
On a slight sideline, two cards that I wanted, Commander Shelby and Acting Captain Jellicoe. I was very disappointed about where they ended up sitting, but yes, anyway, sorry, carry on.
There's going to be another Shelby down the road. I feel like that's got to happen.
I hope so. I was I was so sad. I just airlocked her on the spot. No, go away.
It was legitimately sad.
And the lesser half of that campaign, Amanda Grayson, is airlock material. Diplomat? I hate to say. No, I don't believe she is. Okay. In fact, she was part of that that fated Vulcan Romulan mega.
Yeah, she was.
Where she didn't get a bonus for that. She was week 1, I think, didn't get a bonus for the rest of the time. So I think she's had one event bonus in her storied history.
Regret airlocking her when Disco Amanda comes out and she's the number one. No, you won't regret. You will not regret airlocking Amanda Grayson ever. Yeah. It's like that card is useless. No one uses her for anything.
I was hoping we were getting some trash talk on here, but there we go. I hope you were going to be diplomatic the whole thing and just sort of go, well, she's got a good point. No, she's trash. Fuck her.
People got so upset and personally attacked if I ever said a card was bad. They're like, ma. And you always find out it's because they invested in them. Well, I cited them. Oh, well, you can still enjoy them, can't you? If someone else says they're trash, doesn't mean you can't use them.
Yeah, no, if a guy walking by on the street looks at your house and says, oh man, your house is garbage, like, do you go out and have an argument with them too? Or you continue to live in that house which has provided you shelter and warmth?
I guess I have to sell this house.
Yeah.
Just walk in the house.
No, I mean, there's certainly a cutoff. A first few months player, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, where you will get use out of her. You're getting 4 copies. Just don't expect the moon, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, in the early game, everyone gets use out of any... You get so happy for those first purples that you get. It's like...
Teresian Kim, when he came out, he was a godsend.
Colonel Carr, I finally have a gauntlet option. I finally have some of the ships. Like, every card actually does have their uses, no matter what we might say about them, to someone. But the simple fact of the matter is, we're talking about, for the wide majority of the base, out the airlock.
Just like our children, someone loves them.
You did? Because I'm worried now.
No, I love my boys. Right, so I think that's all we can say about Amanda. I've lost my show notes. Where are we going? So let's move on to the hot topic. The breaking news is Dareth, and let me bring up his stats on the stream. You guys... Oh no, that's Tuskegee Mayweather. Where have we gone? Wrong one. There we go. And his stats?
Voyager number 70. That's the only number that matters.
There we go. So Dareth, today's Tuesday pack, a Sec Sci Med number 1 for the triplet. How do we feel about him? He's How do we feel about our
Well,
gauntlet pair,
I think
Sekmed number
for
12?
future episodes, we were going to do a humorous rundown of their episode, since I was forced to watch Phage earlier today. But since I think he had like 4 lines in the whole episode, we'll skip that. And I mean, he has a skill set to back up numbers, which, if you've had that, there's an interesting dichotomy. If a character comes out and their voyage number 100, oh, that's terrible. But I bet you are still running voyages with number 150, number 170. It comes down to fusion at that point. So he has power is good enough. Skill set is very good. In fact, he's got a unique skill order. There's no other crew in the game that has his order of skills, and with a beefy medical primary. Everyone's always lacking med unless you've been playing forever. So
is he the only
of course the
six-side
downside is he's a 6-packer. So
It's a decent 6-pack though. One of the better ones.
Very good.
So,
yeah, it's very good.
if you're gonna take your bets on this one, I wouldn't blame you. I think there have been maybe 1 or 2 that have been better, but even the purples are fine.
Really?
They're fine.
Tau?
Really?
Guess
I'm gonna
what?
make that
Not
Sato
Amanda
face
Grayson.
again.
They're not Amanda Grayson, so they're fine.
Is that the baseline for this week? They're not Amanda, it's fine.
She's on the docket. It's fair game.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't know, man. Any 6-pack that includes Fury Kess and Tactical Up and an Neelix, and then a 3rd Sec Med, like that's a pretty high bar.
And I think they
You
did something
can prove
similar
whatever you want.
a few weeks back with Medic Reno, where they introduced other Eng Med option, Torpedo McCoy and Temporal Prisoner Chakotay, where I think they're now starting. Well, I say they're starting. I need to check the history, but there's a bit more of a statistical theme for the crew as opposed to just this is who we felt like putting in.
Developer's choice is what you can
Yeah, that was last week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's just like, I don't know, who haven't we sold yet? So that's the one. It's like, but yeah, no, I actually kind of like these 6-packs where everyone seems to be actually thematically linked, and even with appropriate skill sets. It's like, I don't know, like Dareth is cool. I personally have, if I were to pull him, which I didn't, unfortunately, I was aiming for Fury Cast and I ended up with a Tau, but whatever. It would be a perfectly fine upgrade for the majority. If you don't have the emergency medical android or tactical officer Neelix, or if you haven't been stacking your med, this would be a good crew to grab. I think I said something similar about Claymore Scotty a way back when he first came out. It's like, if you didn't get Triple Herder Scotty, and if you didn't get any of these other N-Sec ones, jump on with this one, because they're good. Not amazing, they won't completely revolutionize your roster, but they will be an upgrade, and they will help.
This is with the big...
I'd be more than happy
sorry.
I'd be more than happy to continue to talk up this pack. My default answer for, if you could start an account with one character, who would it be, was Fury Kess. She is a hammer in arena. She's equal to Killy, nearly. She is usable, maybe not tier 1 or 2, in Gauntlet. She has her days. She hits 45% crit. And again, another one like Dareth, good enough on voyages because of a very rare skill set. In fact, she was number 1 for her skill set before the Vidian came out. And then, of course, Tech Officer Neelix has 4 top 10 voyage triplets, which no other card has, and that's a stat that would take too long to get into. But trust me, he is top shelf voyager. Even among, I don't know if he's still a top 10 name, but even among top 10 names, he's been very underrated.
He's still amazing. He's still an amazing crew.
Yeah. So if you hit on any of these golds, you've done well.
He's number 11.
Okay.
Well,
he's number 1
Get rid
in
of
my
him.
heart. So.
You know what I'm actually thinking about? It's like in that top 11 thing, like a crew above him would be like Mycelio, Kolber, Niners, Ezri. Of those, probably like Tacnetics is probably the most desirable just because of how strong he is. And it's like Sekmed is so rare. Sekmed is so rare. Granted, Neelix is not the event name you want, but who cares? He will eventually have his time in the sun.
We have a Voyager Mega coming up very soon in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So, if they do a Voyager crew bonus, Which you
I would
think
like
they would.
that. I feel like
Yeah.
there's just enough crew that you could get away with doing a Voyager pool. There's a lot of Janeways, no Chakotay's, unfortunately. But you know what? Maybe they could do a TOS Mega and just like, hey, look, you know those crew that have generally bad variants? Here's some good ones. Because that was what I liked the most about that TOS Mega.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I think Neelix debuted during the Survivalist Mega, is that right?
He did, yeah.
The Era Hell one.
Okay.
The year
And then there was a standalone event after. I don't know if he's had an event since then, but he at least has, what is it, like 8 or 9 traits. Most of them are pretty esoteric. You know, we're not getting Mylian events, but really at this point with
Chef Mega eventually.
we actually may. And it'll be 80% Riker bonuses. But with the way they just throw these traits out there, I mean, it's very hard to predict future events. At this point, the best you can do is cast your net wide, try to collect as many traits as you can, which is why a lot of Spock variants are at the top. I think Science Officer has over 40 event bonuses at this point because they have all these traits. So if you are event focused, if you want to improve your events, cast as wide a net as you can on traits.
Yeah. Speaking of traits, and to drag it back to me, that is probably the worst thing about Dareth is he will not be an event name. He has
0.
Brutal, Vidian, Thief, and I think Survivalist.
Did you say earlier that Thief was possibly... Is that a new one?
Oh, no, we were saying that it has not appeared since they rebalanced the gauntlet. So he will top out at 25%. So he has a ranked pair.
12.
But it's useless.
Yeah.
Anyone with a Mirror Flux will beat you over the head with it.
Yeah.
And so in terms of traits, I can't see him getting any... I mean, a Thief Mega, maybe. I could see that. A Thief and Criminal, Thief and Smuggler. You could work that, but even then, it's like, I wouldn't put any event hopes on him. So
No, you're getting him for Voyages.
Exactly. In which case, he is a nice middle ground. As I said in my note that I wrote for the big book just today, go and read it at this link here. He is a really nice middle of the ground Voyager for a skill set that has no middle ground. You know, you could do a lot worse. You could do a lot worse than getting him.
You want a body for that Voyage pair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
In this case of, you need, unless you're like us and we obsessively stack our med crew, you need to invest in someone eventually.
Well, to be fair, if you've been playing over the last 6 months, there have been a dearth of medical crew coming our way. With Soji, GodQ, there's definitely been 2020 has been, and half of 2019 has been the med, as we've said before, the medaissance of timelines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Before we move on, I'll just throw out a name that might comp for your roster. It would be Twilight DePaul. She's also same skill set, med primary, and if you got her a few months back in the event and you've used her at all on Voyages, you would use Dareth as well.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I mean, there's not everything else is equal, but just for Voyages.
Yeah, I've actually gotten quite a lot of good use out of Twilight DePaul. Like, she's actually a really nice sub in for defensive flots, just because her minimum roll is, I think, a little bit better than his, and her traits tend to pop up a little bit more often. Very good crew, actually. So, as you say, if you've been using her, and I personally would say she's quite a good crew, and Dareth is even better in some regards, definitely worth going for. If you want to risk your dill on a 6-pack.
Yes. We sound extraordinarily whaley here by encouraging people to ignite their dilithium on this.
Yeah, we need
a
to
weekday 6-pack.
Don't do 6-packs. Don't do them, kids. They're bad for you.
Unless
this is your brain. This is your brain on 6-packs.
Yeah, no, you end up with like you've done 10 pulls. Oh, I got one of the one I wanted. Everyone else out. Yeah, and you didn't get a gold behold because screw you. Don't do 6-packs. Wait for recaps if they turn up, or just.
I think it depends on your own personal spendage in the game. Obviously, talking to people that aren't absolute whales will absolutely pull it to death just for that sort of first to max achievement. But I think you have to sort of decide yourself: have I been saving up for the perfect Tuesday, or have I been saving up for? Because you look at the history of Tuesday packs. There've been some absolute banger cards in there, but all things as they are, they will be in the portal eventually, and they will turn up either as an event reward or as another Tuesday pack somewhere down the line.
Yeah, or they'll end up in those a little or in like another themed 6-pack down the line, which might have better crew in it.
Yeah, Tactical Neelix again was a desirable card, and yet here he is, and he's in the portal. So
Yeah, so I personally can say that I have been burned quite badly by 6-packs in the past. Like, I was going for Medic Reno, and I think I spent maybe 6 to 8 K deal on her, the remainder of my leap year bundle, and it's like, I didn't get her. Let that be a warning to you. I got a 3 out of 5 Amelia Earhart for my trouble, so it softened the blow. Yeah. But it was still a blow that had to be softened, let me tell you, because I really wanted that card, and I didn't get her, because that is the nature of a 6-pack. And if you are not that spendy...
I have to say, it took me about 15k
I feel
to do
like
it myself.
We could get stars at this point and come back a half an hour later and you'd be ranting about all the bad packs that he's pulled. Hey, no, don't take it personally.
I didn't take it so personally.
We all have those stories.
I should have just stopped playing, but it's the case of if it's that one card you want.
To be fair, she was special, but yeah, at any point, don't pull 6s. Let Tuesday speak for themselves.
Learn from my mistake.
Yeah, good card. Take this for the future.
Yes.
When he turns up in that behold one day. Okay, I'd like to move on ever so slightly. Let me lose Dareth here. How do I get rid of you? Is it that button? That button and that button. There we go. So I put it out there when I first said I was going to do some Tuesday streams to say any questions you have for our esteemed colleagues here or for myself, please send them in. And from the 3 days I advertised it, I had a single question. So we will address it here. But anyway, it's first stream, so it is what you expect. So this is from, we discussed this a little bit earlier, and we'll sort of give it the attention it is due. And I want to give a little bit of a backstory here. Somewhere on the forums, a group of sort of players came together to work out sort of the statistical likelihood of, what's the best point in which to cut off a voyage, 6, 8, or 10, and is it worth going for those 10 hours and going further. So the question we had from a member of the forums, Bilo Band, this is from him. There is a belief held among players that voyage strength is primary for success, and 10-hour voyages seem to be the benchmark or the goal for players to strive for. And the company, to some degree, feeds into this by offering, for example, crew like Imprinted Hunter in LTOs, Medic Reno in Tuesday packs, and Torpedo Surgeon McCoy in special packs. Given that our recent forum voyage project demonstrated, and that's the forum thread I was talking about, that 6-hour voyages are as good as 8 and 10 voyages. Does this revelation represent an existential and this is where he loses me a little bit, but an existential threat to the game or company? And if so, what is the remedy?
That's quite a question.
That is quite a question. So I think from the basis of it, looking at what they were sort of came to the assumption of, what is it best for the cut-off if you can go to 10 hours? Is it just a slight cut-off, or should you just go 8 hours and sort of recall and get as good as results as you can? And how does the recent influx of crew affect those kind of sort of decisions in your voyaging?
Well, I'm going to come straight out and say that as someone who has maybe 3 of the Voyage exclusive crew maxed out, and I'm missing quite a few of them. For me personally, I am aiming for a 10-hour voyage every time if I can. I haven't hit it yet. I've been hitting like 9, 10 or most of the time, because I want as many chances at dilemmas as I can possibly get to maximize my chances. Like, if I were to take this, sort of like theory to its thing and go for 6-hour voyages exclusively, I would have less and less chances of successfully hitting, part 3 of Champion of the People or whatever. I would have less chances of getting people who I still need, like Janar or Ensign Picard or Fierce Guinan. These are crew that I want and or need for various different things. Like, Janar is the only 4-star I don't have in the Diplomat collection. And for me personally, every time I hit a dilemma, it's a 1 step closer to him. I mean, that's optimistic, because it is just a case of random chance. But the more chances successively you have of hitting dilemmas in the same voyage is a better chance at hitting those 3-parters, which are hard. So unless you've been obsessively hoarding voyage tokens, which I try to, but I'm bad at keeping an eye on my voyages, I might never see that card unless I go for those things. If you've got all those cards maxed out, I feel like that's a different question. And I'll probably sort of like pull to the back there because I am talking a lot. I feel like that's a big thing. Like, if you don't have Voyage Crew max and you want them, then you want as many chances to get them as possible.
How are we ever going to be able to fill time while Idle's gone? I just can't imagine rambling on for minutes and minutes.
I can't imagine either. What's that like? Show me.
So Idle did give us a heads up on this question earlier today. And so I looked through the thread, and I think the TLDR is longer voyages are better, but by a minuscule amount. And that most important is to recall right after the dilemma, unless you're sure you can hit the next one, because you have sort of spikes in value at each dilemma from honor, chronotons, and crew. There's so many components to this question. I don't think we'll. In fact, I told Idle save it to the end, or we'll just spend the entire hour talking about it. As for the existential threat part, which is sort of dramatic wording, DB, now TP, that's their job as a company, to offer the things that they think their customers really want at a premium and give for free just enough for you to get along. So if I think it's true that the community in general, and maybe DB by their example in the past, have accentuated rare skill sets, good Voyagers and stuff at a premium price. If you don't think the difference is that big, if you're not interested in running longer voyages, and the majority or a vocal enough minority shift to event crew, say, then they have to, that's their job as a company, to figure out what to sell and at what price point they would shift to event heavy crew. So I wouldn't worry about any sort of threat to long-term viability. That's for them to worry about. You just worry about which crew you want and at what price point you want them, and that's sort of the give and take. As for voyages going longer, I think for me there are enough pros that going longer just makes more sense. You get the longer recall time, which, if you can hit it right before you go to bed and not worry about it. I mean, you have kids, you have family. No one wants to get up in the middle of the night and fiddle with that. So you get, like you said, the multi-part dilemmas. You get more purples at longer times, and more absolute chronotons you can feed back into skirmish farming. And there's layers and layers of variables that cloudy the math on this. But I think the important point to take away from this, which I think is the point that the reason why he made the thread, is don't stress with what the super end game is supposed to look like. If you're farming 6-hour voyages, you're doing fine. If you would rather not focus on voyages because 8 hours is good enough and you want some other type of crew, your voyages are not going to suffer into oblivion. You'll be fine there too. So that's really something that a player's expectations for their own gameplay, they have to manage themselves. If they want to min-max voyages like crazy, and they get enough benefit from that, let them do that. And if they want to focus on something else, they shouldn't lose any sleep because they don't have the number 1 Voyager or the number 2 Voyager. The difference, if you look at absolute scores, fractions of a % between crew anyway. And that translates to the results they had in that thread, that the difference in longer and shorter voyages are really fractional.
Cool, thank you. I think that pretty much sums that one up, really. Thank you.
Actually, one last point in regards to the existential thing, which I think, as his point out, is a bit overdramatic. I don't think there's any danger for this game. Picard did fine. It was very, very popular on all the various different streaming services. We're getting content in right now. I imagine there were probably all kinds of contracts that were signed to further extend the life of various marketing tools, which I would include this game as, because that is kind of what it is. It's like, hey, look, new event, new stuff going on. And I think DB, now TP, they aren't stupid. They can seem like it because they used to offer those awful Starry Skies packs and offers. or they can offer really bad deal prices or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, they are not stupid. They know to modify their business practices, not just for maximum profit, but also so that they don't piss off their consumer base. If you think of the fact that how many campaigns have we had now? We've had like 8 campaigns.
Yeah, it's been a year. It's been a year and 2 months now. So 12. Yeah. March 2019. Yeah. I think,
with a few exceptions, like depending on your metrics, of course, they've been pretty excellent value. All of them. Even if you just take out the gold crew and don't even look at that, they're always good value for tokens, dilithium, for packs. For if you really like, if, depending on your luck, the equipment requisition crates or whatever, the merits, they priced that really well. I feel like $9.99 or whatever it is in your various country is a decent ask along with a monthly card. I feel like most people that's an acceptable level of like spending on a mobile game.
If you're playing a game for this long, which we've seen in things like Destiny and other sort of more big platform games, they are looking for you're not playing a game for sort of like 24 hours and then sort of putting it down and sending it back to the shop. You're sort of investing yourself in something, and especially with people like us who are Trekkies, who are Star Trek fans, we are looking for something to, I don't know what the word is there, but to put ourselves into.
Yeah, to invest yourself in.
Yeah.
And campaigns, I think, are a really smart way to get at that, because it's a case of, if you want to opt out, you can, but it's a case of, like, for most people, I think they're a really smart investment if you want to pay anything at all. Those the 10 for 10 packs and the monthly card are the best value you can get in this game if you want to spend.
Yeah. Shout out to Stellar Ice if she's still watching. Legendary free-to-play player.
Definitely.
It is. I won't say it's not a grind in this game without spending anything, but it can be done. There are examples. Her fleet is a great example of people, if they put their mind to it, can win events. They can hit 10-hour voyages. They can do everything there is to do in the game without spending. So
absolutely, I've got a VIP alt that I stick in. I've got in VIP 0 as well, and they are a stunning. They're a stunning fleet for the achievement they've put in, and for the strategies, their own unique strategies they have, which they share willingly. It's a fantastic ethos, definitely.
Yeah,
and that's a healthy part of a game. You have to have a player base which will play without spending. Yeah. You can't have 3 whales competing with each other, and that's that. There's no point to spending if you can't show off your collection to people or compete against people. So everyone has their place in the game, and so I'm sure we'll come at it from a point of medium spending. I'd like to think some of the 3 of us are whalier than the others. But there. You can play from any point of view.
Yes. Yeah, in regards to free-to-play things, like that's another point in which campaigns were very smartly pitched. Because that first one, you got a free copy of like Durango Troy, the beta, and now every single one you've got that. I don't know if they call it the basic track, but the one where you still get relatively decent 4 stars. If you've already got them, you can airlock them. That's more honor. You still get a 10 times at the end of it, and that's completely free. That's a really nice added value for people who don't want to spend a single penny.
Yeah.
And it's even better for people who want to spend them, but it's a case of that's an actual tangible investment in free-to-play players, which shows that they understand the importance of appealing to people who want to get enjoyment out of this game without having to spend anything.
I think the bonus of that free-to-play campaign as well is the SR site, the super rare site at the end, because so many free-to-play players will have a ton of 3 out of 4 event crew, which unless it's a galaxy or a hybrid galaxy, that they can't do anything. So actually giving players that for just a little bit of participation is great, because they can go, right, 4/4 immortalized, fantastic. And that pushes people on the road to 750 dilithium. So
Absolutely. And it's a case of if you get into the game into the way that we are, that's like an extra, even more kind of an value added, because for us, we agonize over our citations. It's a case of we have this YZ. What can I possibly cite? What would be the best collection value? What would be the best in terms of my voyage skill sets? It's like if you play the game like we do, something as simple as that, as a simple purple site, can be a big tactical thing that you put in thought to and you get enjoyment out of, because Yeah, that's the thing. For me personally, the game is almost a whatever. It's a case of getting to hang out with people like you guys and actually strategize and talk about this stuff is a large part of the enjoyment.
You mean you don't like skirmishing all day, every day?
The Bond films are the best part of my skirmishes. Even the bad ones.
For context to the viewers, these two frequently on skirmishes like to watch quite a lot of Bond films.
They're just easy to watch.
You gotta watch something so your brain doesn't
this
ooze
is
out
it.
of your ears.
We will discuss skirmish tactics on another episode, I think.
Yeah. And you can take that from you had like 2 number 1 skirmish wins, right?
3.
Yes, I'm sorry, sorry. I saw that.
And I have no brain left as a result, so that's proof
It's a
positive.
sacrifice you make. So it's a case of like, they understand the importance of investing in a free-to-play base because you need people who compete. And I don't know, as time goes on, maybe we'll see more of an investment into that. I would hope so, just because you want to keep your game thriving. And I like to think that this company is smart enough to do that. So far, they've displayed that they are at least open to changing things, and some things less than others, like that. Those 3 packs with the new 3 stars were not my favorite. EVC Tuvok, I don't know why you.
I'm so glad I wasn't here for that.
Yeah.
You missed a good time there.
Some people got lucky, in which case, you know what, great for you. But no, I'm not interested.
I have heard about how much some people, and I'm not going to disclose here, but I have heard how much some people have spent on getting a 3-star. Yeah, it was a lot.
Well, again, it takes all kinds, because not everyone wants to win events. Some people want to collect every 3 stars. So
yeah,
it's for different players. It's a case of at least they're varying up and seeing what appeals to different people, and I'm sure they have all kinds of figures of what sold best to who and in what places. But tying back to the point after a lot of rambling and tangents, an existential threat to the game, I think we're fine. I think we're fine.
Okay, so I think we're going to kind of thank you guys both for joining me. I think we're going to kind of wrap it up here. I have one final little thing. I haven't told you about this. And one little game I want to play with you. And this is a best of 3. And this will test your memory. This will test your memory and Otto, you might be a bit of a loss for this because you've been away for a bit longer. But we're going to play Guess the Tier.
Ask me about diplomacy stat or minimum diplomacy roll of a crew from 2016, and I can tell you. But I can't tell you anything from the last 4 months.
No, it's fine. Fine. You might be able to sort of get where. So I'm going to name you, and we'll do 3. We'll do 3. I'll keep it nice and short and sweet. So I would like you to tell me the tier, and both of you, and I'll tell you which one is right and which one's wrong. And I would like you to tell me what tier you placed Dress Uniform Scotty in.
Oh, God. That he's in currently.
He is in currently as of today.
I'm going to go with 9. I think I started him higher, and he was not catching events at all, and I kept moving him down, so...
I'm going to go ahead and guess 8.
Congratulations, Otto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured he might have got a bit of a bump up for Jerry Rigger, but I suppose that got killed a little while ago.
Loken.
Oh. Now, Loken was in a top half. He was like the 4th Eng-Med side crew that came out, something like that. And so just based on his voyage potential alone, 3 traits is abysmal, but I think I originally put him in 4. If you guys moved him after that, that's on you, so I'm going with 4.
I think we might have moved him down, so I'm going to guess 5.
That's 1-1. Well done, Stars. Okay, final one. This is the tiebreaker. Okay, we'll go for a super rare now.
Oh, dear.
Buster Kincaid Kim. Where is Buster Kincaid Kim? Speaking of Kims for this week's event, where does he sit?
I'll let Stars stick his foot in his mouth first.
Vanity, slightly uncommon skill set. Main cast. 5?
Now, in 2019, there was a big influx of engineering and security crew, including Determined Janeway. So I think before then, EngSec was bottom 3rd in rarity, He had the Vanity. He has a pretty good base, but he doesn't get events. So 5, I would say. Hold on, is this like it's a set game where if you guess $1, you can still win if the other person win over?
No, unfortunately, we're
Right,
going to
if he's
stick to
guessing
straight
5,
rules.
I'm going to guess 6, and maybe that's closer.
I'm afraid you're both wrong. Here's tier 7.
Oh,
So it is
we
1-1
were
for this week. So
hold on. If I edit that right now, I can still be right.
well, I'll save those scores for next week, and I think we'll continue this if we continue going on. But I think that's a sort of a good wrapping up point. Do you not think?
Yeah, that's fun. Like, man, I need to look over the Super Rares again. And
This is where you guys are going to go over the book. What did I do?
Yeah, we have 1,000 different things we can talk about or interact with viewers. So hopefully we'll get to that in the future.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much, Idle, for putting this together.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You've done a great job, and I've had a great time.
And thank you very much for coming and joining me, because initially this was going to be me on my own. I think it's in about 10 minutes, and it's been just over an hour. So fantastic. No, thank you guys for joining me, and thank everyone in the stream for watching. This will be up on Twitch VOD later on, and this will be on... I'll put them up on YouTube at some point for people to watch later. But we're going to say bye-bye, everybody.
Shut up, Wesley.
Goodbye from me, goodbye from them. It's goodbye.